All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge one, something that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. How on earth can a machine, a computer, learn to create something brand new?
I mean, you've seen it everywhere, right? Images, text, even music with that little tag, created by artificial intelligence. And let's be real, it feels kind of like magic. A computer writing a poem or painting a picture? How?
Well, surprise, surprise, it's not actually magic. It's a process. And maybe the best way to get our heads around it is to think about a master chef, someone whipping up an incredible world-class meal. Because at the end of the day, it's all about having the right ingredients and the perfect technique.
So let's start there. Every great dish, every single one, begins with the best ingredients you can find. For an AI that's learning to create, that one crucial ingredient, it's data. And not just a little bit, we're talking massive, massive amounts of it. In fact, we can pretty much map the entire AI building process to 4 simple cooking steps. First, you gather your ingredients. That's the data collection. Then you prep and mix everything. We call that pre-processing. Then comes the actual cooking, the model training. And finally, the most important part, the taste test, or evaluation.
Just think about it for a second. If a chef is trying to bake a mind-blowing cake, they're not going to use stale flour, right? They need top-quality stuff. The best flour, fresh eggs, pure sugar. It is exactly the same for AI. You want to generate super realistic pictures of cats? Well, you're going to need a huge top-notch collection of cat pictures to start with.
There's this saying in the data science world. It's basically the golden rule. Garbage in, garbage out. It's so simple, but so true. The quality of whatever the AI creates is 100% dependent on the quality of the data you feed it. You put in messy junk data, you're going to get a messy junk creation.
Okay, but you can't just throw all your ingredients into a bowl and hope for the best, right? A chef has to wash the veggies, peel them, chop them up. That prep work is crucial. And in the AI world, we call that pre-processing. The data has to be cleaned up, all the errors removed, it needs to be organized, put into a format the AI can actually understand. If you skip this prep work, you're going to end up with a complete mess.
All right, so our ingredients are all prepped and ready to go. Now, it's time for the main event, the actual cooking. For AI, this is the most critical part of the whole thing. It's called training. And this is where all the real learning happens.
But what's really cool is that you don't always have to invent the recipe from scratch. In fact, most of the time you don't. The most popular approach is something called transfer learning. Think of it this way. Instead of trying to figure out how to bake a cake with zero experience, what if you started with a world-famous chef's proven, perfect recipe? You get a huge head start, right? Then you just add your own little creative twist. It's way faster, way more efficient, and saves you from a ton of mistakes.
So what does one of these secret cooking methods, one of these training techniques actually look like? Well, one of the most brilliant ones out there basically works like a high-stakes competition. Imagine a showdown between a young, ambitious chef and the world's absolute toughest food critic. This whole setup is called a Generative Adversarial Network, or just GAN for short. And that word adversarial is key, because it's literally 2 AIs, 2 neural networks, that are locked in this constant battle, each one trying to outsmart the other. So on one side, you've got the generator. That's our student chef. Its only job is to create fake stuff, let's say a picture of a person's face, that looks so incredibly real that it can fool the other AI. And that other AI? That's the discriminator. This is our expert food critic. Its entire purpose in life is to tell the difference between a real photo of a person and the fake one that the generator just cooked up. And this game goes back and forth, not just a few times, but thousands, maybe even millions of times. The chef makes a fake dish. The critic immediately says, "Nope, that's a fake," and points out the flaws. The chef takes that feedback, goes back to the kitchen, gets a little better, and tries again, and again, and again. Eventually, after all that practice, our student chef gets so good that the master critic is stumped. It literally can't tell the difference anymore between a real dish and a fake one. And at that exact moment, we know the generator has done it. It has successfully learned how to create incredibly realistic, totally new things all on its own. So our chef has basically graduated from cooking school. The training is done. But how do we know if the final dish is actually, good? Well, it's time for the final taste test. In the AI world, we call this evaluation. And we can judge this in a couple of ways. First, there's the qualitative way. You can think of this as the eye test. A person, a human being, just looks at what the AI created and says, yeah, that looks good. Or, something's off. But then there's the quantitative way, which is like using a scorecard. It uses specific math and metrics to give us an objective score on how realistic and varied the AI's creations are.
So if the model passes these tests, both the eye test and the scorecard, and it hits the goals we set for quality, then it's ready to go. It's ready for deployment. That's the final step, where it gets put into a real app for people to use. You could say it's ready to be served.
So there you have it, from raw ingredients to a final creative dish. That, in a nutshell, is how a machine learns to create. It's not magic at all, is it? It's this methodical process of learning, competing, and getting better and better. But, as these AI chefs get more and more sophisticated, it really leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. What is the next frontier for our own creativity?